When I arrived at Djurs Sommerland on August 7th, 2023, I was only 4 coasters from 600. I had some pretty good options at this park for this milestone, but for me, there was only one coaster on my radar, the Intamin Megalight, Piraten. Having never left North America, I had never ridden one of these megalights, but I heard amazing things. They are exactly what they sound like. They're a mega coaster, just on a small scale. Still, despite the size, all the elements are supposed to pop and the ride experience is supposed to be amazing. I made Piraten my 600th coaster, and I did not get cheated during my stay at Djurs Sommerland. I walked away with 12 rides all over the train, and I had some very mixed emotions, so you know what that means. These are the pros and cons of Piraten. The first pro is the theme. Piraten obviously means pirate, and it's in Piratland. This opened in 2008, Piraten being the centerpiece of the new land. It's got a beautiful entrance to the station. The ops dress up like pirates. All around, it's not Disney level or anything, but it's pretty well done. The first con is the lap bars. When you see an Intamin T-bar, you think it's gonna be a good time, but I really did not like these. They were not like the T-bars that I'm used to. I'm talking about Millennium Force, Accelerator, the old Top Thrill Dragster. Those are very small, and they come down around your stomach area. These T-bars remind me a lot of the U-bricks from Superman the Ride. I feel like they came down too low, right in your thighs, and it made getting airtime that much harder. The second pro is the cable lift. This thing only stands 102 feet tall. It didn't need a cable lift, but it got one, and I think it was a nice touch. Intamin started using this on Millennium Force back in 2000, a light and fast way to get the train up a 300-foot lift. So for a coaster a third its size, it's purely a luxury. This whips the train up in just a few seconds, so if you're nervous, this is a good and bad thing. You have no time to prep, but you also have no time to panic. You're up there in a flash, and down you go. The second con is the drop angle. Some people might look at the height and say it's not tall enough. I don't think that's the problem. When you look at this from the side, it seems like the lift hill is almost the same angle as the drop. It's weird that Intamin did this. This was built in 2008, so it's not exactly old school. They already built Millennium Force. That's 80 degrees. Thunder Dolphin, that's also 80 degrees. Expedition G-Force, that's 82 degrees. I don't know the drop angle on Piraten, but it looks bad. And even in the back row, I didn't get much in terms of airtime. The short 4-car trains don't help when it comes to whip, but the drop was disappointing. The third pro is the first turnaround. When you look at the first half of this ride, it's hard not to see Intimidator 305. Right at the bottom of the first drop, you take a hard right turn, right against the ground, about 270 degrees around. On I-305, this is the most intense element I've ever experienced on any coaster. This coaster is also 3 times smaller than I-305, so you don't black out, but you still feel the G-force. Apparently, this pulls 4.2 Gs, and that's no joke. If you like intensity, but not so much that it's gonna break your neck, you'll enjoy Piraten's first turn. The third con is the big airtime hills. Just like I-305, after the big turn, it rises up into an airtime hill underneath the lift. Also, just like I-305, it gives you next to nothing in terms of airtime. It follows up with a more traditional camelback, but that didn't do anything for me either in the front or the back. Now, this is the first con that I think may not be fair all the time. I was there on a rainy, cold, gusty day. There was even one ride where, on this hill, we got hit by a huge gust, and for a second, I thought we may not make it back to the station. I was just watching Coaster Studios' review on this, and it looks like he rode on a hot day, and he was raving about how these elements popped. For me, that was not the case, but I'm halfway around the world. I'm only there for one day. I gotta take what I can get. This is a twisted airtime hill and then a pure camelback. Those are some of my favorite elements and they look promising, but front, back, or middle, I got nothing. The fourth pro is the second half. After dropping into a tunnel, and by the way, this tunnel has mist in it and it smells awesome. For some reason, it reminds me of Halloween. After 12 rides, I'm sure I huffed a gallon of that stuff. But anyway, I think the whole second half is a lot of fun. I can see this is why people love megalights. It starts off with these off-axis twisted hills. These don't only give you that ejector airtime, it also throws you side to side. It reminds me of that twisted hill on Skyrush. Twisted Colossus has one like this on the green side also. Even Time Traveler has a really good off-axis bunny hop. These are great elements on Piraten. It starts with a big one, and then moves into the 2 really good ones. The first one twisting left, the next one twisting right. Then it turns into 2.5 straight bunny hops. I say half because the last one levels out too soon. That's one where you get some airtime in the front but not much in the back. The 12th and final ride that I had, I was actually able to swing some room between me and the lap bar. The ride was running as fast as it had been all day, and I really appreciated the second half. As good as it is, because of that lap bar, the fun factor isn't as high as it should be. The fourth con is the finale. As good as the second half is, that leveled off airtime hill and slow turn into the brakes is kind of an anticlimactic way to end the ride. Funny enough, this is where the on-ride picture is. Not on that first drop or those off-axis hills. It's on the slow turnaround before the brakes. I know, I say it's slow, but that could have just been the conditions that day. It seems like Intamin tried. It rises up a bit, banks left, and then drops and snaps to the right. For me, the ride was crawling at that point, so it was kind of a boring way to end the ride. Minor con, but it had to be said. The fifth pro is the smoothness. Sometimes, you get that Intamin rattle. Yes, that's a real thing. When I rode Ride of Steel this year, it was very rattly. Millennium Force isn't exactly butter smooth either, but Piraten didn't have that problem. It's definitely a coaster you can ride over and over again. I rode this at least 3 times in a row on 3 separate occasions, and I had no problem with it. Like I said, I rode this 12 times in a bunch of different rows, but by the time we got to ERT, I pretty much stuck to the back. I wasn't super impressed with any particular spot in the train. I don't think you can go wrong no matter where you sit, but I felt like you got a little bit of extra whip over the airtime hills in the second half. That made the airtime a little bit more sustained. Definitely minimal differences, but enough to make me want to ride the back. Now it's time for the moment of truth. Where does my 600th coaster rank? When I was riding this, it reminded me so much of how I felt on Ride of Steel at Darien Lake. The elements were there, but I just wasn't feeling them. That is, until the second half. Both are very much second half coasters, but the size, length, speed, and better lap bars on Ride of Steel make me rank this a little bit higher. Piraten is smoother, but that's the only advantage that I saw over it. That and the cable lift, but that's not that big of a deal. I got this right behind the Ride of Steel coasters, and right ahead of Volcano the Blast coaster. This slides in at number 103 out of 634. That's not bad, and honestly, I wish I could have done better. I think this ride deserves better. I hear so much praise over it, and it's just too bad that I was there on a cold, windy, rainy day when the ride wasn't at its best. Now, the lap bars are the lap bars. I definitely wasn't a fan, and no matter how fast the ride is, they're still sitting there in your legs. But if those airtime hills would pop a little more, especially those first 2 big ones, I think that would have added a lot to the ride. If so, this could have slid into my top 100. If you've ridden Piraten, let me know what you think in the comments below. If you haven't ridden it, I hope I didn't scare you away. At most, maybe just dampen your expectations. I admit, mine were pretty high. This was my number 4 most anticipated coaster on my European trip, and it turned out to be my number 6 ranked coaster when all is said and done. Again, if you can avoid riding this in terrible weather conditions, that's what I would do. This was the first day of Storm Hans, which caused a lot of chaos in Scandinavia, and it turned what should have been a hot August day into something you'd find in the early spring or late fall. It was really unpleasant. Be sure to check out my Djurs Sommerland vlog if you haven't already. And if you enjoyed this video, please drop a like. And if you're new here and want to see more content like this, please give me a sub. Also, check out my links below for my Discord server, and my second channel where I post copyright-free off-ride footage, and my baseball channel if you also happen to be a baseball fan. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.